Yes, Dave, welcome to the Empowered Coach podcast. Thanks so much for coming on. Would love to start the show just by finding out a bit about you and your business. So if you could give us a little bit of an intro of what you do, that'd be amazing.
Sure, buddy. Thanks for having me. Where do you want to start? It was a long time ago. So I've been personal training first and foremost for just coming up to 25 years now. I started when I was 19. I started training when I was 19. I started personal training like unofficially at 22, 23 years old, and then got qualified in 2000. Properly qualified in 2000 with a level 3 qualification, and just done it all really. I suppose from there I've done the PT thing, I've done the PT manager thing, like face to face. I've done the area manager thing. I've done the regional manager thing for recruitment and training other coaches and other PTs. I've been a studio owner, home-owned studio for 4 years, and now we're online. Fully online since sort of 2017, 2018 in some capacity, and fully online for probably the last 2 years, sort of by choice really. I wasn't ready to give up doing one-to-one PT. I was still enjoying it so much, and I was so busy, and it was a solid income. And even after I closed my studio, I was super busy. Only sort of felt like I needed to get off the gym floor after like 22, 23 years, a couple of years ago. And I haven't done a face-to-face session for probably 2 years now.
Wow, so much experience and so much varied experience in the industry as well. It's really refreshing to see. And what was like the catalyst for you to move online?
To move online, I think it was I think age. I'm not going to lie. I think age had a lot to do with it. I mean, 22, 23 years. Anybody who's like a busy PT will know that it's not as glamorous and easy a way to earn a living as people think it is. The type of coaching that people and personal training that people were coming to me for was like, it was full on. I was spending 8 hours a day in body armor, with pads and tie pads and body protectors, getting the shit kicked out of me in the gym, and spotting people on heavy sets and unracking hundreds of 20-kilo plates and re-racking them every day, and 50, 60-kilo dumbbells every day. It takes its toll on you after a while, especially I was living in Essex at the time, and it's hot, it's warm down there, by this country standards. It's a warm part of the country, and it's just it's just getting a bit much, And I think the business model as well was a big thing for me. I'd never had a paid holiday. You can get people walk out of your business that come in 3-4 days a week, and all of a sudden £1,000 a month's gone out of your business, with no warning. The one-to-one thing's just for the PT, it's just a terrible business model, isn't it? You don't, people, they don't turn up because they're sick. They don't turn up because their kids are sick. Nobody wants to pay for a cancellation. They go on holiday. Some of the wealthier people that you train can disappear on holiday for 3-4 weeks at a time, and you don't earn any money. And I just think the whole exchanging time for money thing would just worn a bit thin, really. Got sick of having no, you just watch so much money potentially disappear out of your business every week because people need to be there. Whereas with the online thing, people pay, it's almost subscription based, isn't it? People pay for their monthly subscription, and you can still work with them whether they're on holiday or whether they're not. So it's I just think business model wise, it's potentially not quite so good for the client, because the client pays regardless now. They don't just pay when they rock up to do their 60 minutes in the gym. But I think for the coach, it's a much more relaxed way of living, and it's almost like I've had holiday pay for the first time in 25 years. It's crazy. Yeah, I think a combination of just getting old and not wanting to just exchange time for money anymore was probably the main catalyst for me, to be fair.
Yeah, I think the client definitely gets value for money if it's just the result they're after. Different people suit different styles of training, don't they? But ultimately, someone is going with a PT most of the time to probably lose weight and tone up. And with online coaching, generally the price point for that is going to be less than they're going to be paying for one-to-one coaching.
Sure.
Over the month anyway. So I think it depends on the person. But what I'm interested to know your opinion in is, do you think being an online, or let me rephrase that, do you think that trainers, before they should move online, should do some face-to-face? Do you think it's a rite of passage to be able to progress online? Or do you think it's okay for trainers just to kind of jump straight in and be an online coach?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. I think it's a really good question as well because it's one I come across quite a lot. I get asked that quite a lot by other coaches and by clients. To be honest, I've been asked by it, and business coaches have asked me that, and it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? Because it's like I used to think. The old school PT in me used to think that, like, yeah, you need to go and earn your stripes on the gym floor, and you need to know how to deliver a PT session, and you need to have a level 3 qualification, you need to be insured, and you need to go down the route that we used to have to go down. But since I've gone fully online and realised like how like crazily different the two roles are, I'm not so sure now. I'm a little bit undecided because there's the skills that I need to be successful online now. Well, that skill set is, yes, of course, you need to know how to coach people, and you need to know how to put if you can't string a decent workout a plan together, a progressive workout plan, then you're going to struggle. But does me standing on the gym floor getting beaten up with pads on all day help me become a better online coach? Not really, So I think what happens is that ideally you need both, don't you? Like you need some experience on the gym floor, and then you need that skill set. Like people like yourself help me out with things that I'm not quite so good at. I've got to be honest, I'm a little bit undecided on it. I think it doesn't do you any harm to be a successful personal trainer first, but is it absolutely essential to be a successful personal trainer in order to be successful online? I don't think so. Like you've only got to look at, without mentioning any names, like by his own admission, take James Smith for example. Like he's like almost failed as a PT. On numerous occasions. He went to Australia and failed when he went, it didn't do very well there. And the guy's made like millions and millions of pounds working online. So he's a great example that you don't necessarily have to be some top tier, top level face-to-face personal trainer in order to be successful online.
Yeah, I think that there's definitely a different skill set, and of course, a lot of it is marketing. The content creation side of things, and some people, I say, like, I'd even put myself in that category. Really struggled with that to begin with. Kind of putting myself out there and knowing what to put out there, so I didn't feel like some influencer. What's been your journey with regards to like social media? Did you have some of that kind of imposter syndrome or any anxiety about showing up online at the very beginning?
I know, like most, I think the thing when I get asked these questions is because I'm like 300 years old. My answer's probably a little bit different because a lot of the coaches you see out there, especially online now, they're quite fresh, aren't they? If you think about like when I speak to business coaches and people who help with marketing and stuff like yourself, their average client is like 23 years old and inexperienced, moves
Yeah.
around their mums, and he's scared half to death, isn't particularly experienced, isn't particularly qualified, is trying to deal and coach and coach people that are maybe 20 years older than them, and it's an uphill struggle for those young kids. It's hard. But for me, by the time I would look to move online, I was like 17, 18, 19 years into a career anyway. So I think the difference is now most of the like fit pros or whatever you want to call them these days, they're online educated, aren't they? They'll go on Instagram and they'll see a reel that they like and some information. Might go on my page. You might get a marketing guy that goes on your page and doesn't know anything about marketing, but just regurgitates what you've said about Instagram ads or about ManyChat. And when I got educated, I spent like £30,000 at the Czech Institute down your way, actually, in Eastbourne and Brighton. We were paying like 3 to 5 grand for 3 to 5 days seminars and educations, and we had to sit exams and so you were very confident that you know what you're doing when you come out of there, because an institute like that doesn't pass you and doesn't give you vacations unless you've passed. Like you have to go in and prove hands down that you know what you're doing, or they don't give you anything. And I think what that does is it gives you the confidence that you are like a properly qualified, certified practitioner of some description, rather than somebody that just regurgitates what somebody else said on YouTube last week. I don't think I really struggled with imposter syndrome because I'd been successful as a trainer and a studio owner and a manager and an area manager. And I'd watched dozens of trainers drop off in that 15, 18 years where I'd still managed to strap down 30, 40 sessions a week consistently. So I don't think I had imposter syndrome there, but then obviously you've got to start making videos, right? And that's like I said, it's a different skill set. Having an imposter syndrome, You could really, really know what you're talking about and be a great coach and a great trainer. But if you can't get that across on video, and you're not, you can't get the words out, or you're not articulate enough when you speak, and you can't make people stop and take notice, all you end up being, which is what happened to me for a while, is like the best kept secret in the fitness industry. You've got all this experience and all this knowledge, and you can help so many people. But if you can't string a sentence together and make a decent video, or if you're not articulate enough to write a decent enough post or anything along those lines, online you're just going to crash and burn, because you haven't got that captive audience of 2,000-3,000 members in David Lloyd's or Fitness First or LA Fitness or wherever it was at the time. You've got eyeballs on you in there, but when you go online, you've got to create your own eyeballs. You've got to draw people into your world. And I think there's a lot of people out. There's some guys down our gym, like fantastic personal trainers, fantastic coaches, like successful bodybuilders, but struggle to, there's nothing wrong with what they do. What they do is great. But then taking that into an online environment where they can have that different skill set is very hard. If you want to know what I did, I used to have an 8-mile journey to the gym that I was training at. This was in 2017, 18, whatever that really hot summer was, where it was like 35 degrees for about 8 or 10 weeks running. And I would sit in the car, and I remember it, because I used to have the window shut, because I needed like good sound quality in the car. And I had a tripod, I'd like a car holder, one of those phone car holders, and I would film like a 10-15 minute video every single day on the way to the gym and every single day on the way home, just like ranting about anything that was wrong with the gym environment or the fitness scene, or things that people were doing wrong. That was before the days of like editing software and wireless microphones. Like, you didn't have any of that stuff then, especially for phones. There was no CapCut. There was no DJI mics or anything along those lines. So you used to have to do this unscripted, unedited, fairly long form. There'd be like 4 or 5 minute videos which nobody would watch now. They'd be considered too long. And I did one of those there and back every single day for a year, 165 days. I didn't take a day off. And back then, Instagram wasn't massive. It was all Facebook. And I've still got like this old Facebook page with these like 10-minute rants in the car that you can barely hear because the audio's so bad. You can hear is me changing gear in the car, sweating everywhere because you couldn't open the windows because you're trying to keep the sound quality good. And I just sort of learnt to do it from there, really. I did Facebook Lives from there. I got enough confidence to do Facebook Lives, and just moved on from doing it there. So I was sort of self-taught, really.
Yeah, I think it's just putting the reps in, isn't it? It's just building that skill set, and you doing those rants, over a number of years has led you to be able to show up pretty confidently and speak articulately, like to a reel without, fumbling your words and stuff like that. So I think it is just putting the reps in, isn't it?
And also, it's never been easier. Like, now we've got CapCut, and you can have jump cuts, and you can edit things in and edit things out. And like, when I was doing that, there was no space for mistakes, because it was like one take, and it just had to sort of be like that. So I think now, like, people getting into trying to do that stuff now, like, you don't have to worry. Like, you could memorize a line. I do this myself sometimes. Put your file, pick my iPad up, read the next line, do that, stop, pick my iPad up, read the next line, do that, and you can take it home and make it into something that looks like it flows beautifully, perfectly, with some quality, with some decent quality editing. You couldn't do that back then. So I think my confidence has grown now, because I'm not up against that high pressure one take type of thing anymore. It's not a live show anymore. Now you can actually go home and edit it, but you didn't, like I said, you didn't have that software back then. It was the amount of times I'd go and I'd like forgot to put the sound on my phone, or I'd forgot to double tap the screen and it was out of focus when I got home. I had so many videos that I'd sat there ranting for 10 minutes and they just had to go in the bin. They were useless. They weren't audible. They weren't watchable. And I think you keep putting the reps in, you learn to, make sure everything's in focus. You learn to make sure your mics are on and your mic levels are on. And it's just reps. It's just another skill set you have to learn, no different to training people.
Yeah, I speak to lots of coaches all the time that are like brand new, they're trying to get into the industry. If you kind of had to do it all again, or you had to like start from zero now, or you wanted to just give some advice to someone, like, where would you start and what would you do?
For an online coach only, yeah? It's just coming straight into online coaching.
Yeah.
What's the first thing I would do? I think there's lots of first things you need to do, depending on which business coach you listen to. I think what I would do is especially if I was one of the, the younger guys or girls that we're talking about, is I would be very careful about trying to get into this whole high ticket coaching entrepreneurs type of thing, because if you're 19 and live around your mum's with no family and no children and no real job, and your only job's making a couple of TikToks every day, and your mum cooks your dinner for you in the evening, I don't think the 6-figure 50-year-old entrepreneur with 4 children and a wife and 2 businesses is probably going to take too much notice of what you've got to say. Now, whether that's right or wrong, you could have some fantastic advice for that person, but trying to get that across to that type of person, so it's going to be tough, So I would say that I would try and stay at my own level, all right? So if I was at a level where I knew 10% of everything there was to know about coaching and weight training and nutrition or whatever it might be, I'd try and focus on people that know 3 to 5%, so I'd probably work on people that are, you need to be, as a coach, you need to be levels above, don't you? The people that you're working with, otherwise they're not going to work with you. So it might be, I help students between the age of 18 and 21 with gym anxiety who want to gain 10 pounds of lean muscle in the next 6 months. I'd go in probably with people that I could be a coach to, superior to in some ways. I'd want to be somebody, okay, I was you 2 or 3 years ago when I was at university, but now I'm 23, I've managed to move through and do this or something. So I'd probably pick somebody that can afford to pay me. That's very important. You have to pick people, a niche that can afford to pay you, and you have to pick people that you want to work with. You have to pick people that are going to relate to you in some way, shape or form. Because again, I said, the entrepreneurs maybe not going to relate to the 19-year-old kid that lives around his mum's. And I think you have to always be, you don't have to be a control freak, but you have to be the boss, don't you? If you're the coach, you have to be the guy that's answering the questions, and able to answer the questions. So I think if you bite off more than you can chew, if you're young when you first start, and try and coach people that have probably potentially been in the gym longer than you, potentially more might even have a better mindset than you. Some of these people's business mindsets are unbelievable. You're just going to drown, I think, just trying to and then expect that person to pay high ticket prices to you at this stage in your career. I think it's a dangerous message that these business coaches are sending out there. I don't think it's and that's why a lot of these kids crash and burn and get so demotivated and so deflated so quickly, because I think some of the message out there, this high ticket this, and coach to entrepreneurs and coach to directors and coach to business owners, and it's a dangerous message for the youngsters getting into the game, I think. So my advice would be start roughly around your own level, and then as you get older and you become more experienced and you've actually got some life experience, because online coaching is not just sitting there sending people a diet sheet and they're going to come back to you with problems each week. It's not just, there's your workout, there's your diet plan, and I'll give you a pat on the back once a week on your check-in. As you've done it. We spend half of our life, we're problem solvers, and we spend 90% of our time counselling. And if you're not in a position to do that, if you haven't got that ability and that life experience, there's big high-ticket, high-net-worth people, I don't think they're going to come near you at 19, 20, 21 years old.
Yeah. Awesome advice. Find someone that's a few steps behind you. Find someone that resonates with you. Find someone that you have 100% certainty that you can fix the problem that they have. And then make sure that they can pay you, and then just stack those levels up over time. Would love to know a bit more about your approach to fitness. So if you could speak to how you like to approach health and fitness with your clients, whether you've got a unique kind of approach, that would be amazing.
I don't think I really have a unique approach, because everybody's different, aren't they? You're dealing with individuals, and even if you do the whole, the niche thing, and you niche down and niche down and niche down, you still got individuals within that niche. And as of course, the tighter and narrower and more restrictive your niche is, you're probably going to have less variation, but you always get variation. But my approach is is always very structured, regardless of whether it's nutrition, whether it's training, whether it's supplementation, whether it's recovery, whether it's the amount of times a week they have to check in, or whatever it may be. But there's tons of flexibility within that structure, because there has to be, because you're dealing with different people with different responsibilities, different positions in life. Some people have got kids, some people haven't got kids. And so, for example, we went to do this last week, didn't we? And it's like, oh, Dave, I forgot my daughter's got a half day. can't do it today. We'll do it next week. Like, these things happen. So there's got to be flexibility within everything that you do. Like, no, there's no two ways about it. So yeah, everything I do is very structured. Meal planning is structured. Step counts are structured. Some people work on averages. Some people work on daily numbers. I probably have the least variables in my training plans, like, because I work massively with progressive overload. I like people to be in the same gym, on the same kit, with the same resistance profiles and same loading profiles each and every week to make sure that we're pushing forwards. I'm not a fan of these people that go off training at 4 different gyms a week on different day passes and have a different session, and one day they're on an incline bench that's 40 degrees and the next week it's 45 degrees because they're in a different gym. All of these variables cause massive problems. So I don't like to have too much flexibility in the training, just because I want to see what people's progress looks like every week. You need to be in a consistent environment, don't you? So I think I've trained at 2 gyms in the last 6 months, and the second one was like 4 or 5 days ago. Since I moved to where we are now in Scotland, I've been in one building for the whole time, and it's taken me that long to work everything out in the gym: seat settings, setting up machines, heights of things, resistance profiles on things with variable resistance profiles. So yeah, I like to. Mine's more of an ethos, like, rather than an approach. My thing's like, it's if you're going to train, go in there to fucking train. There's no messing about with my guys. I don't take any selfie clowns on or any of that stuff. That's not a bit of me. Like, I'm not. If my clients send me pictures of them taking selfies and grinning like an idiot in the mirror, I don't share them. I don't post them. It's not part of the get up here. Like, it's just not something that we do. And I think that's a dying thing now. It's a dying thing. I think it's getting very diluted, isn't it? The whole fitness thing's very diluted. It is about cheesy selfies and people making peace signs in the mirror and all that carry on. And yeah, mate, I don't entertain any of that stuff, as you know. That's not a bit of me. I'm going in there trying to break things. And I've said it on videos before, like, if there's a bar to be bent, I'm going to bend it. If there's a whole stack to be done on a machine, I'm going to do it. If I think I can snap the cable, I'll snap it. Like, anything I can go in there and wreck, like, I will try and break, and I'll just pay for it. I'll be like, yeah, sorry mate, I broke your fucking cable machine. Just send me the bill, no trouble. And I've noticed that when my clients start getting into that mindset, that's when their bodies, and they get mentally tougher, and they get more focused, and that's when their bodies really start to change. Especially for the people training naturally, it's not easy. It's not easy to change the shape of your body and pack loads of lean tissue on when you're training naturally. So and most of my clients do train naturally. So
What
yeah, the more
what are some of the biggest problems that your clients come to you to fix, and how do you fix them?
again, it varies. If I had to pick some, because I think what you have people that come to you, but they don't necessarily end up being clients. So you'll know, being a coach and a personal trainer for a long time. Like, you might even have it in marketing now. So you might get on a sales call with somebody with the marketing stuff that you're doing, and it's always time and money, isn't it? So it might be like, well, Richard, I can't afford what you're doing. I can't afford Facebook ads or Instagram ads, and I don't. And you've asked me to do, like, this content that you need for the adverts. We need creative for the ads. We need photos. We need ebooks. We need lead magnets and the stuff. And I just haven't got time. So I think you're always going to get time and money. And I think in this world, time and money can be an excuse and it can be a reason. Like, some people's, again, you see these 20-odd-year-old kids, everyone's got 24 hours in a day. Well, they have, but not everybody's 24 hours are the same. Like, I'm sure when that kid is asleep in his bed at 3 o'clock in the morning, he won't be getting the shit kicked out of him like I am by an 18-month-old baby that still sleeps in that bed, and he rolls over and stamps on me 4 or 5 times a night and wakes me up. So my 24 hours is not the same as his 24 hours. So, and the money thing as well, some people who just haven't got the money for coaching. They don't have the money to train at the gym that they need to do. And some people have got the money, they just spend it on partying or designer clothes or Gymshark gear or £200 headphones or other periphery crap that they don't need. I think time and money are always either reasons or they're excuses. And reasons and excuses are two very, very different things. But most people come to me. If you want the truth, if I had to say one thing that most people struggle with, is two things actually. One is conflicting information, because there's like, everybody's a coach now, aren't they? Like, it's an unregulated industry. It's like photography. Photography is an unregulated industry. So when we got our wedding photographer, we didn't check if he had a photography degree or a photography qualification. We just liked his pictures. I was like, wow, I want my wedding pictures to look like that. They're phenomenal. Didn't ask him if he went to school or not. All I care about is that he could take a picture. And I think online coaching, like you say, you mentioned it, you touched on it earlier with the marketing. Like, if you've got loads of phenomenal before and after pictures and somebody goes on there and they're like, okay, that looks like me on the left, like 4 or 5 stone overweight, miserable, haven't had my leg over for 6 months. And I want to be that guy on the right who's now like in brilliant shape with a little dolly bird on his arm. They don't care whether you're qualified or not, or whether you've got public liability insurance, or whether you spent 25 years on the gym floor like I did. They don't want to be that guy on the left anymore. They want to be the guy on the right. And if they feel that they can get it, that you can get them there, then they're in. You know, people are in. That's what social proof and social proof based marketing is. So yeah, I think that's there's that is a big thing. That's a big thing.
I would love to know. There's probably tons that are going to come top of your head. But is there one client kind of success story that you could talk about, kind of like where they were when they came to you and where you took them to?
Or one. It's hard to pick one. It's been a long time. I'll tell you what I had, right? This would be crazy. This will probably surprise you. Out of all the people I've trained, I had a lady that came to me. I'm not going to name her for obvious reasons, but she was actually a face-to-face client, right? And it was how I first started to learn to work online with people a little bit as well. So there's a bit of a crossover. And she had a very, very, very wealthy husband. She was an older lady, and I was deep involved with all my Czech Institute stuff at the time, so a lot of clinical rehabilitation, and she had terrible, terrible back problems, like savage back problems. And her husband, I think he was a farmer, like he owned loads of big farms, 2 or 3 big farms. He was absolutely rolling in money, but he would not let her have a penny. Like, she used to turn up in like this 800 quid car, and he was driving a Rolls Royce. Like, I don't know what was going on, but she turned up at the gym with this terrible back pain that she'd come to me from an osteopath. She was referred to me from an osteopath, and he would only pay for her to have 30 minutes personal training a week. And I think I was charging like £33 an hour at the time, 20 odd years ago. So she used to pay me like £17 or £18 for this 30-minute session once a week. But I worked with her on, like, that's the first bit of online training I ever did, where I was like, okay, this is what we're going to do in the gym, but this is what I need you to do, and I need you to text me and let me know what you've done with your flexibility stuff and your mobility stuff and X, Y, Z, and what you can do at home, and I'll keep an eye on you in the gym when you're in here as well. And in 3 months, that lady went from like absolutely crippled with back pain to brand new at like 60 years old, having a 30-minute personal training session a week because her husband wouldn't pay for any more for her. I don't know why I remember her, but it was like a massive result for such a tiny investment. So that was cool. Online purely, I've had a girl that lost 7 stone,
Blimey.
which was big. Yeah, 7 stone. And I actually met her it started off in person, and I went to watch the kids' nativity play, and the chair that she was sitting on broke underneath her while she was watching the play. It exploded.
My God.
The legs just came out, yeah, and she hit the floor. She lost 7 stone. That was cool. But I've had a few, it's too many to mention. But one of my other favourite ones was a lady who was so overweight that her children were getting bullied at school, like savagely bullied at school because of the size of their mum. And she was a big lady. She was like 20 plus stone at 5'3", 5'4". Her children, her 2 oldest children out of the 3 children she had, were getting absolutely terrorised at school by other kids because of the size of her mum. And the kids were defending their mum. They were so they ended up in fights every day. Don't talk about my mum like that. And it just was escalating. And in the end, the kids ended up getting thrown out of 2 schools for defending their mum. They did end up having to get buses to another school like miles away because they weren't allowed in either of these primary. They're only primary school children, and she said, "You've got to help me. You have to help me because my children are getting terrorised at school because their mums." And she said, "This is not my words. This was her words." She said, "I'm so fat." She said, "Their mum is so fat that I'm just getting my children get brutalised at school because I'm so overweight." Yeah, her pictures are like phenomenal. She is like a third of the size that she was, and she did it. And she had all sorts going on. She had like gallbladder problems, like couldn't pull her off of her. She was like type 2 diabetic by the time she came to me. We just had this massive spectrum of health problems. Both her knees were smashed to pieces because of the extra weight she'd been carrying around for so long. Yeah, we got there, and she lost like 6.5, 7 stone last time I spoke to her. But since I've finished with her, her habits are so dialed in now. Like, she don't need me anymore. We just check in a couple of times a year, and everything's just ingrained, you know. So
Amazing.
it's been loads, mate, over the years, and it's all super cool. That's the stuff. That's why I don't coach bodybuilders. They don't get me out of bed in the morning. Like, them sort of
Yeah,
stories
yeah,
get me out of bed in the
yeah.
morning. I'm not interested in some lemon with his fucking board shorts on, you know, and he's I'm just not. I'm not interested in his like
Yeah,
plastic trophies and his fucking
yeah,
whatever he's doing. Like, good luck to him. You know, when you get people like that need help, like,
yeah,
that's what really, really gets me out of bed and makes me want to do this job. There's enough coaches out there that will stand there, you know, next to him like this, pointing at him with their little trophy. You do that one, mate. Like, good luck to you. There's no judgment from me. I'm trying to do bigger and better things. You know.
yeah. Life-changing stuff, having an
Yeah,
impact.
for sure.
100%. Yeah. Listen, mate, we're going to wrap it up. I really appreciate your time, your
Thanks for
wisdom,
having me.
your experience. I'm sure there'll be some coaches watching back, taking notes from this, and they should. I'll drop your handle and your contact details in the show notes below if anyone wants to follow or reach out to you for support. And thanks again for coming on.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks for having me. Good to see you.
Cheers.
Cheers, buddy.